Hello everyone, this is Mamad Senaulia. Welcome to this video. Just make sure you watch, like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so as to be notified for every video that I will be posting. Right about today we are going to talk about the introduction to hematology, and I make sure that by the end of this video you'll be able to attack other more chapters in hematology, but with the introductory part you'll be done. Alright, as listed, we have 4 learning objectives today, and one of them is hematology. We have to define hematology. Hematology refers to the study of blood and its components, and the study majorly aims at knowing the normal picture of the blood and the abnormal picture of the blood, so as to make a clear outrule of different blood disorders. As any science, of course, hematology, this study will involve the observational, experimental, and rational techniques before results are obtained. In hematology, we are about diagnosing disorders of blood, and these disorders will include most commonly leukemias, anemias, and many bleeding disorders. Let's now talk about blood. Blood is a red, thin, connective tissue fluid responsible for transportation of nutrients and oxygen to different parts of the body. And as it carries nutrients to different parts of the body, blood is entitled to carry away waste products of these nutrients that have been utilized by different parts of the body. So here we are saying blood takes almost 7% of our body weight. And I think by quick math, here we can get the average mils or average volume of blood that a person has. An adult has 70 mils of blood per kilogram body weight, and if an average adult is 65 to 70 kgs, let's take an average of 68 kgs, we are just multiplying by the 70 mils and we get a 4760 mils, which is 4.76 liters of blood. An approximate of 5 liters that I know you've read about in some literatures, which is pretty cool. Also important to note about blood is that blood is a weakly alkaline fluid with a pH of 7.4 plus or minus 0.5, meaning it varies from 7.35 to 7.45 with a specific gravity of 1.025 to 1.09. Well, here now, let's have blood and its composition. Blood contains a variety of constituents, and these are going to be classified into two forms. We have the cellular components and the acellular components. The cellular components are also called formed elements, and these take up about 45% of the blood. The acellular are also called unformed elements, and they take up 55%, about 55% of the blood. These are called cellular because they have formed elements. And why formed elements? Because we can actually see them microscopically. You can see them, they have definite morphologies and they are formed like the red blood cells and white blood cells, unlike their cellular, which are otherwise called unformed because of their invisibility. You actually just test for them in chemistry, maybe some molecular biology. Let's have a look at this illustration so as to understand the acellular and cellular concept of blood composition. On our left we have the acellular components, and on the right we have the cellular components. And this tube is showing blood that has been centrifuged and separated very well into 3 parts: the plasma, the Buffy coat, and the red blood cells. Buffycoat and red blood cells are having that 45% in total as the cellular components, but the Buffycoat has 1% or less of the 45. So red cells have 44% of the cellular components and 1% is for the white blood cells and the platelets. We are now having the plasma above the red blood cells, and this is taking about 55% of the blood composition. It is made up of water, which is 95% of it, ions, proteins. However, the proteins are so many in blood, and these are, we have albumin, globins, and fibrinogen, 60% of which is albumin. Albumin is the major protein we have to know in blood because of its great roles. We have nutrients, waste products like urea, creatinine, bilirubin, etc. We have gases. So for ions, you'll have a list of like sodium ions, potassium ions, calcium ions, phosphates and sulfates. These ions are good in maintaining the osmolarity of blood. Having the cellular components at length, let's talk about red blood cells. These are the oxygen carrying cells. They are biconcave and disc shaped. They have a characteristic appearance of a ball squeezed between two fingers and measure about 7.7 micrometers in diameter. I did some art. Let me try to illustrate for you this cell so as you get to explain more about its features. So as you see this illustration, the cell has an inward depression in the middle, and this occurs at either sides to give it the name of biconcave. Just as you squeeze a ball between two fingers, it will form two depressions at either side. That's the red blood cell, and it is flexible so as to maneuver in even small vasculature. Here are the white blood cells. So when you mention about white blood cells in the cellular components of blood, you need to list them, and let's see how they look here. These are cells of the immune system that are involved in protecting the body from pathogens. So you're seeing the neutrophil, eosinophil, basophil, lymphocyte, and the monocyte. Let's just appreciate them for now, and in my next video of where we shall see cell formation, we shall actually talk about them at length and their morphologies.